As many of you know, during the battle at Hogwarts, we lost many people from our school. But for me, Hermione Granger, one of the most impactful was the death of Severus Snape. Today we gather to remember a man whom none of us knew very well. He was a private man, a lonely man, but one of the most honorable and upright wizards I have ever met. He was my teacher, my enemy, and eventually my savior. But above all, Professor Snape was a hero. Many of us owe our lives to his tireless efforts. For the better part of 2 decades, Professor Snape was a double agent, passing essential information on Voldemort's activities to Professor Dumbledore. A key member of the Order of the Phoenix, he is responsible for countless successful Death Eater arrests and convictions. During his tenure as headmaster, he did his best to protect the students under his care, without betraying his true allegiances. He also orchestrated many of the events which led to our eventual triumph in the final battle against Voldemort's Death Eaters. He was intensely loyal, and if he was usually short-tempered, it can be certainly deemed excusable, considering the precarious nature of his work. Besides his courage and unswerving service to our cause, Professor Snape was a powerful and brilliant man in both his teaching fields. Considered one of the foremost potions masters in our community, he is capable of brewing even the extremely complex Wolfsbane potion. His abilities in defense against the dark arts were incomparable, except to the notable expert Professor Dumbledore. It is fair to say that Professor Snape was not an easy man to befriend. In fact, I know a few people who could claim that singular distinction. Of those few, all but one were victims of the war, including the late Albus Dumbledore. With no family, it is up to us, his fellow Order members and colleagues, to preserve the memory of Professor Snape's remarkable sacrifices for our society. We owe him a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid. I have heard people speaking against Professor Snape on more than one occasion. While ingrained respect should be enough to prevent this vicious slander, it is apparent that certain people have more insolence than intellect. Should any of those people care to repeat their comments to me, I should be happy to address them individually at his or her convenience. My friend Harry Potter has graciously agreed to second me. Despite overwhelming odds, Professor Snape transcended his unfavorable background, unfortunate house afflictions, and the stigma of his dark past. It is not as a Death Eater, a professor, or a spy that he should be remembered. Professor Snape paid in blood to win this war. He was struck down by Lord Voldemort mere hours before our final victory. To the end, he was steadfast and wholeheartedly devoted to the destruction of the Dark Lord. He should be remembered as what he was, a guardian, a defender, and a hero of the wizarding world. Thank you all, and there are actually refreshments off to the side if you'd like to stay. It would be greatly accepted.